Okay, I want to thank everyone again for being here. Greg, can you hear me okay? I want to say thank you to Greg Mooney, President of Barrio Reseller, for joining us today. Greg,
yeah,
can you hear my voice today?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I'm glad to be here, and
okay.
Thanks for everyone taking out the time.
Yeah, we're going to do two parts of the webinar today. I'm going to do the opening part to sort of talk about the current state of the real estate market, going to go through some statistics and just do a real brief overview of the current real estate market and what's kind of going on out there. Then Greg's going to take it and do a piece that is new to us, new to Barrio Reseller, new platform, new program, new offering. We're all quite excited about it. Greg will be describing that in detail here just in a few minutes. So we are going to take questions on today's call. We'll do it at the conclusion of the webinar. If you look to the right of your screen, there's a dashboard. There's a button that says questions. If you click on that button, you can type in your questions at any time. Anytime during the webinar, just go ahead and type them in. At the conclusion of the webinar, we will be glad to take your questions. So again, I want to thank everyone for being with us today, and we'll go ahead and get started. I just pulled this off LA Times Orange County Register. This is the Case-Shiller one-year price gain through March of 2013. You can see some of the markets here that we've seen an appreciation in. Phoenix 22, San Francisco up 22, Las Vegas up 20, Atlanta up 19, Detroit 18.6. We're going to talk about our chosen market, which is Birmingham, Alabama, in a few minutes. Birmingham saw 17.1% sales increase from 2011 to 2012. There's some new statistics, too, we'll share a little bit down the road here about our chosen market. LA Orange County, I had to put this on here just because I happen to live in Orange County. Been a homeowner here for a number of years. Orange County is up 16.6%. And interestingly, Orange County is now rated the #1 most overinflated market in the entire country. Quite interesting. And it's interesting that me and Greg still get asked. We're in California. We still get asked from people, why are you not buying more inventory in California? Well, that's one of the reasons. You're not going to see the appreciation here that you'd see in other parts of the country, and the cap rates are extremely low. This article was actually quite interesting. It was veteran Southern California real estate analyst G.U. Kruger who made these comments. Said, yes, home prices are up, double-digit rates, and no big deal. They're still way below the previous peak, which is why you're still seeing institutional money flowing into this market to buy cash flowing real estate. I've been using this for a while. It's a great article. I've had a lot of compliments on it from the people that I've sent it out to. If you'd like to get the link, call or email me, and I'll be glad to send it out to you. This is Time Magazine back in April. The article is Why Investors Are Betting on the Housing Rebound. It's actually profiled one group that was heavily invested in the real estate market back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they actually saw the bubble about to burst. They saw that the market was overinflated. It was a good time to exit the market. They did. They've now re-engaged. They're one of the bigger buyers now in buying up single-family homes as an investment. Good article. If you'd like to read it again, ask me for the link. This is another one, Wall Street Daily back in April, about the housing market. This actually profiles where we were currently at in the housing market, and if we're ever going to see the market come back to 2008 prices. And the answer was, yeah, we will. It won't be tomorrow. It's not going to be, probably this year, but we're heading in that direction. And then it goes on to talk about the real estate market on a path to recovery, and that there's no better time to buy than now. We believe that to be true. Case-Shiller, again, some statistics. After we saw a 30% drop since 2006, we saw a 3.6% gain over the third quarter of last year. The National Association of Realtors is something that we follow quite closely. It's a good barometer for taking the temperature of what's going on within the industry. This talked about, seeing a 9% jump in home values in 2012, and then the home inventory levels hit a 5-year low in December 2012, and there's a lot of reasons for that. It's the reason why we've had a couple of price increases, really for the first time in about 18 months. It's also the reason why you're here today, because the market has shifted. There's another angle, and there's another direction, another strategy to attack this market, and Greg's going to talk about that a little bit later on, being able to capitalize on some of that institutional money that's flowing into the marketplace. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Again, National Association of Realtors, 84% believe that values and number of transactions will increase in 2013. 77% believe that new construction will begin to increase. 74% believe that the local economy is going to improve in 2013. I still find that to be an amazing statement, in that we've seen so many things in the last 4 years with regards to our economy, where to invest your money, where it's safe, where it's not safe. The fiscal cliffs that we all watched on the news every night for the last 2 years. But interestingly, optimism is back, and especially in the housing market. And no market is expected to see a decline in home values or real estate transactions in 2013. which is what you saw that in 1/3 of the markets in 2012. One of the reasons that we've seen such an increase in home values in the last 12 months in particular is that we have seen an influx of hedge funds into our market, institutional buyers, real estate investment trusts. Read a lot about some of the groups that are in this market, Blackstone, for example, sort of the 300-pound gorilla in our space, buying up $100 million a week in real estate. You've seen these things on the internet with regards to hedge funds. Greg and I can both tell you now that we now interface with these hedge funds. We talk to most of the larger groups. We know what their strategies are, and interestingly, their strategy was really never any different than the strategy of our reseller. It was just simply take advantage of a market that was disjointed, that had some decreases, great decreases in sales prices and home values, and you take advantage of that. You buy those properties up, you rehab them, do some work to them, make them rent ready, put a renter in there, and either experience the cash flow over a period of time, or to simply buy it and flip it. And we've had a number of different models, but the hedge funds really think no differently than we thought all along. They're focused essentially in the same markets that we're focused in, but they see it, and I think the most powerful thing that comes out of the experience we've learned from the hedge funds was they just simply believe, to a large degree, that buying a home today is really the best investment. It's safer than being in the market. It's safer than having your money in any other investment. It's essentially a commodity. It's going to cash flow, and it's going to appreciate in value. So that's the primary reason why they're here. And so the question we had to ask ourselves was, well, what does this mean to us? What does this mean to our reseller and our investors? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And so I found this article on the internet a number of months ago, talking about all these reasons why you should hug a hedge fund buyer, why it's a good thing for your own particular strategy for them to be in the market. I pulled off 3 of them. They actually cited 5 reasons as to why it's good that hedge funds are in this market. And of course, Greg's going to be talking about a new opportunity that we're going to unveil today, and he'll further talk about why it's good these folks are here. But number one, they're driving up prices. That's the simple truth. They're driving up prices. They're buying homes that we typically wouldn't buy. Greg will talk about what our system is and how we do things. But we do not buy undesirable properties. We don't buy properties that have extensive rehab work done. We don't buy those homes that you can get from banks that were on a tape that you can buy really cheap, but you have to go in and reinstall everything from the toilets to the countertops to the cabinets because the homeowner has taken everything with them when they left. We don't do that. They do, and that's good. And that's good because it raises the value of the entire neighborhood. The third and the last thing is it provides an aftermarket for sellers to look at when they want to exit. And that's really the most important part of why a hedge fund is good for our marketplace, because they are simply providing a market to sell the property at a profit. And again, Greg's going to talk about that at the conclusion of his slideshow. I've had this on my webinars now for over a year. I like this slide a lot because it really frames the market. It talks about while home prices have not hit bottom nationally yet, demand is starting to grow. Well, 15 months after that article was published, we've hit bottom. We are no longer at the bottom. We are climbing back now. Every statistic throughout the country points to the fact that we are now climbing back. Now, it talks about demand starting to grow. It did start to grow. We believe it started to grow when Warren Buffett had that interview on CNBC. I think it was March of 2012 or April of 2012. When they asked him about buying single-family homes, he said, I'd buy 1 million of them if I could, if it was practical, but I'm not very handy. And what he was essentially saying was, if I had the ability to have someone like an REO reseller to be there to find the property, fix it up, rehab it, rent it out, and take care of it for me, then it would make sense. So Warren Buffett, being Warren Buffett, didn't just say what a great thing buying single-family homes was. He then went out and he bought Prudential real estate. So he recognized that that was the right place to be. Interestingly, this article talks about, the demand is starting to grow at the low end of the market. The reason that's so interesting is because that's where we were always focused at, was the low end of the market. We didn't focus on California. We didn't focus on Vegas. We didn't focus on Phoenix. We focused in markets that provided a higher rate of return. And that's where most of the hedge funds are focused as well. The next paragraph talks about large-scale investors entering the market. We've already seen that. We've talked about that. They're here. There's a good reason why they're here, and it's a good thing for our industry. And then finally, how do individual investors get in without extra cash flying around? Retirement funds. We do a lot of these webinars with third-party administrators, people that retire or manage people's retirement accounts or investment accounts. It's a great way for someone that had a 401k that lost value over the last 5 years to be able to have a cash-flowing instrument that's essentially a commodity, meaning real estate, that provides cash flows, tax benefits, and then ultimately a profit when you sell the property at the back end, whenever whatever your exit strategy might be. So that's a little bit of an update on the housing market, kind of what's going on in the REO world. We're going to get into a little bit more of that as we go through the slideshow. I'm going to give it to Greg, CEO of REO Reseller. Greg, thanks for being here, and I'll just turn it over to you.
No, great. Thanks, Charlie, very, very much. A lot of good information there. And it all pertains to what we're talking about. There's a lot of things going on in the market. It's really accelerating fast, which we'll explain when we get to the end here about this, how to earn over 50% on your money in less than a year. I'm not going to go in a lot of details. I know there's a lot of new people on the call. There's a lot of old people, but I want to really hit the basics and get to the end. You know, we started in 2008 before people even recognized what a problem was going on. We're basically been a one-stop shop for investors that want to take care, take advantage of the foreclosure market, but not necessarily being, an expert in real estate or that type of thing, and didn't want to get, involved in managing in any aspect of the investment. All right, I'm going to go over basically our whole formula and how we work internally, okay? We're going to get to the exact area that we're in. Most of you know we're in Birmingham, Alabama. The more that you know about that, the more that you'd be excited about it. There's so much going on. It's unbelievable. But basically what we do is, we'll identify, say, 100 properties, and we'll go ahead and cherry pick those. Now, the slide says, we might get an average of 10 properties. I'm going to tell you in the last 3 months, it's more like 5 properties. It's getting harder and harder to identify the right properties. Like Charlie says, we don't buy the ones that are beat up and should be tear downs and that kind of crazy stuff. But we target neighborhoods where the rental values are high and the resale values are consistent. Okay, we do buy REOs, foreclosures, private party sales. We actually do buy from some local banks, et cetera, et cetera. But most of them are off-market transactions. What we don't do is we do not buy lists, bulk tape sales. I think most people on the phone know what that is, but that's like buying literally sight unseen, et cetera, et cetera. We have a big infrastructure in Birmingham. I've got people on acquisitions. We've got 3 rehab teams. We have people for maintenance. We've got a property management company, second to none. So we only concentrate in one area at a time, okay? And we buy based on the yield, not on the comp. The comps are still so far across the board. You could have a property, where your neighbor, there's one home at 100,000, and then, there's a neighbor there, and it says it's worth 15,000. We know the areas extensively. We know exactly what the rents are going to be, and how it's going, what the bottom line ROI is going to be to one of our investors, okay? But we provide a fully managed system, whether it be long-term or short-term. Okay, I can't make it any more simple than this. Charlie and I field calls all day long for people wanting to buy in California, Nevada, and Arizona. And people always ask us, well, why aren't you there? And here's the simple reason. Okay, if you bought one property in California, Nevada, or Arizona, okay, with an average price of $500,000, that house is only going to rent out for about $2,200 a month, and that's really if you're lucky. Charlie came across some that were in Anaheim, California. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie. But they were selling them for $400,000 a piece. The problem is they were renting between $1,200 and $1,400 a month. By the time you do that math and you take out the taxes, the insurance, and the management costs, you're left with nothing. So versus buying, all our models have been on the lower priced, but say, for example, you bought 10 $49.9 properties from REO Reseller. In our market, it's going to pay an average rent of over $7,000 a month. So you can see the math, location is everything. And in addition to just more cash flow, it's also diversity in your portfolio. I'd rather own 10 of something than one of something. All right. I think most of you know that we primarily operate in Birmingham, okay? And I'm going to go over some statistics, but I encourage you that if you have not read up on Birmingham, Birmingham is actually, because of everything that happened in Atlanta, is actually being targeted by a lot of these hedge funds and stuff, and the demand is just going through the roof. CNN Money basically said that Birmingham was the 10th best overall real estate market in the United States, period. They also said it's the 3rd fastest growing real estate market in the United States. New Wire, they did a study of the 10 best cash flowing markets in the United States, and Birmingham was 3rd. And in addition to all that, you know, there's been more money, and Charlie, if you're there, you can bump in a minute and explain those statistics on the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, there's actually a couple things that's just come out recently. Yeah, the first thing is the Better Business Bureau in Birmingham announced about 2 months ago that there was 3 times as much investment dollars put into the city of Birmingham last year than in their entire history. They've never had anything near what they've seen in the last year in Birmingham. Part of it is that some of you may be familiar with the Birmingham Barons, the minor league baseball team. If you would only be familiar with them because that was the team Michael Jordan played for when he decided to go play baseball and not basketball. But they've moved that stadium with the construction you're seeing here is the stadium being built downtown, and that stadium is now state-of-the-art. It's a minor league facility with a state-of-the-art baseball stadium downtown. And what it's caused a revitalization downtown of investment dollars. This article was in the New York Times about not even a month ago. It was this month. I'd love to have frame the whole article. If anybody wants it, I can send a link. But it's a good article. But it talks about how Birmingham is all of a sudden hot. It talked about, believe it or not, if you look down here, it talks about Zagat rating a restaurant in Birmingham. I read that first. I thought, you got to be kidding me. But the downtown there now has got a whole new section of restaurants, bars, nightclubs. The whole downtown's been revitalized. It's a very hot place to be right now. Just a whole bunch of statistics about what happened in Birmingham over the last 30 years. Birmingham, once upon a time, was a steel community. It was a steel town, and that means there's soot in the air. There's mainly blue-collar workers type of thing. And that transition started in the early 1970s when it went from a steel town, which it no longer is, to more medicine and finance. So now it's more of a white-collar town. And so you've got a whole different type of an individual that's coming into Birmingham, not just for vacation. So this article here just talks about going there for vacation type of thing, but also for people who live there. It's just a different type of a place. You see this statistic. This is new. This is just out a couple months ago. Metro area sales prices were up 2.8% in just February alone. This is interesting here, though. If you look at these graphs and charts, these are sales prices, and this here is inventory. You see where the prices peak out, 2006, 7, and of course, you see the gradual decline, which is where we sort of entered the marketplace, sort of in here. And now you see it starting to climb back up 17% from 11 to 12, and then 13% up, probably about 3 or 4%. I would think. I haven't looked at some more current statistics through May, but it's probably somewhere in that ballpark. But what's interesting, at the same time, look at the inventory levels. The inventory levels here were extremely low, and then, of course, the inventory levels became high, and now they've gone down again. And, again, this is going to frame what Greg's going to get to in a few minutes as to why, in this current cycle we're in right now, there's another strategy that we can implement to buy that inventory and sell it quick because the prices are going up. So Greg's going to be talking about that strategy here in a few minutes. And, Greg, I'll just turn it back to you now.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. All right, I'm just going to go breeze through a couple of examples. A lot of people, in California say you can buy a house that's livable, you know, for $50,000. That's amazing, and it's very hard to put your arms around it. But I'm just going to breeze through some examples. This is just one house. You can see we sold this house for, I believe, $50,000, $49,900, something like that. You know, it's renting for $725. Do the math. That's a pretty incredible return on your investment. Charlie, you can just go to the next one. Again, I'm just going through examples and stuff to give you an idea. All right, here's another one. Real pretty house in the front, but again, you know, this one's renting for over, you know, $700 a month, $740 a month. You do the return on investment, you know, after you pay insurance, taxes, everything, you're still left with, you know, anywhere from, typically our houses are between 10 and 14%. You can go to the next one. Again, this is just another example of a home. You know, you can see, you know, this is after rehab, obviously. You can see this one's got a, you know, beautiful kitchen, bathroom, nice hardwood floors, etc. You can go to the next one. Again, here's another one. This one looks a little older, not as pretty, but you know, it's renting for $725. Again, it was sold for, I think this one was sold for $44.9. You can go to the next one. This one's a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a custom paint job. But, you know, again, this is currently rented for $750 a month. You can go to the next one. Excuse me. The reason I'm bringing this one up, this is actually a very recent sale, okay? And I just want to show you some before and afters. This one wasn't so bad. You can't see, you know, all the details in the pictures and stuff. But, you know, this is before. This is the condition that it was bought in. Didn't need much in the interior, but you can see all the multicolor rooms. You know, the deck in the back was kind of messed up. The kitchen was messed up, et cetera, et cetera. And you can go to the next one. And this is after. You can notice it's got really, really nice flooring. Brand new air conditioning unit. You can see the bathroom was completely redone, the kitchen was completely redone, the back was done. This is a nice unit, and it's renting for over $750 a month. So that's just to give you an idea of before and after and some of the homes that we specialize in, okay? Now I'm going to get into this was the invitation that was sent out to you, and I want to stress a few things here. This is seriously a very limited opportunity. Okay, we're only going to do this for the first 10 investors, and that's only because we can only get enough inventory as in a specified amount of time. Okay, and we don't want to take in more than what we can go ahead and purchase inventory with the inventory being a little bit on the limited side. On the other hand, though, we're missing out on opportunities for not being able to purchase more and more and more. So this is basically something new that Ario's reseller is doing. You can go to the next slide, Charlie. And I'm just going to explain this as simple as I possibly can. It says example 1. There was supposed to be example 2, but I'm going to have to go over that verbally. Okay, this is just an example. You as an investor can invest $35,000. That's going to give you full title to a single-family home in Birmingham, just like the ones that we just looked at, okay? You can go to the next slide. Okay, we know that we can sell those homes all day long for $50,000 once they're rented and once they're occupied. I'm sorry, rehabbed and rented, okay? Now, in that $50,000, we're actually going to get in and break down costs so you can actually see where the earnings come from, what the expenses are, et cetera, et cetera. But basically, you know, we flip this house for $50,000. It's going to cost us about $4,000 in commissions and fees, $1,000 in closing costs, but the gross proceeds would be about $45,000. Okay, now, and I also want to make sure that you understand, you know, it may be $49,000, it may be $51,000, but it's very close. It's very close to 50. You can go to the next slide. Now, on average, and we're going to kind of open this up a little bit. Charlie and I are going to have an interactive conversation at different price points, but this is based upon, you know, our $50,000 model. And we know that it'll take about 3 months to actually sell that home. During the 3 months, there's going to be about $180 in taxes, $150 insurance, $108 alarms, and $400 for a home warranty, which totals $838, okay? And if you can go to the next one, Charlie. So these are basically carrying costs, okay? So bottom line is there's $44,162 of net proceeds, okay? And if the home is rented in that time before it sells, say we get it rehabbed, rented really fast, but it doesn't sell for another 30 days, all that money goes into escrow and gets split evenly, okay? But here you go, $44,162, that's the net proceed. $35,000 was the initial investment. at least $9,162 in profit. The bottom line is we're willing to do a joint venture. We need to be more aggressive in purchasing more inventory. Okay, so in this case, you would get $45.81 and we would get $45.81. Okay, doesn't sound like a lot, but you're only talking about a $35,000 investment. That comes to be almost exactly 13% return on your money. And Charlie, you can go to the next one. Now, it's simple math. And again, if anyone wants to contact us and talk to us, the contracts are very simple, very easy to understand, no fine print, that type of thing. If we can do that 4 times a year, that's a total of $18,324 in profit. That is a 52% total annual return. So basically what it is, it's a complete joint venture. There's probably people on the phone that are thinking, well, I could go to Birmingham and I could do this myself. And you know what? God bless you. If you want to go ahead and try, maybe you can, maybe you can't. Our experience is that you would, if you tried doing this yourself, you would be into that home for $50,000 easily before you even got a renter in it. And that's only because we have the ground teams, we have the buyers, you know, we have just such total infrastructure down there that it makes it, you know, quite hard to compete in the way we buy the homes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Charlie, you can go to the next slide. I think there's one more slide. No, there's not. But anyways, what I do want to talk about, and Charlie, you know, I want you to come on and talk a little bit about, Charlie's been dealing with a lot of these hedge funds and stuff, okay? Now, $35,000 is the minimum, but what I want to talk to you about also is opportunities at different dollar amounts, okay? What I just went over is pretty turnkey. We've got it all dialed in. What we want to also emphasize is that there's actually a way that you could potentially make more, but actually not only more, but in less time. And that's something that's going to be in the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and $90,000 area. And Charlie, if you want to talk about that and exit strategies and that type of thing.
Yeah, you know, as we've been doing these webinars really over the last 6 months, I noticed a couple of names on here that have been on these for a while. You know that we've been talking about, you know, we went, you know, last year at the end of the year, we sort of realized that, you know, we had some serious competition. These hedge funds, they weren't as much in Birmingham, but they were really all over the country. They were buying up homes everywhere as fast as they could get their hands on them. And, you know, we tried to figure out, you know, is this good or bad? We talked about that. But so what we did was we really just engaged with them, because what we realized very quickly was that these hedge funds have this massive thirst to expand their portfolios. But the key for them to be successful is what Greg has been describing for really 5 years, and that is you've got to have people to find the house. You've got to have people that know people at the banks. You've got to know people that know how to get off-market deals. You've got to identify the inventory. Then you've got to have people that can do the rehabs at an effective cost. We have a very strict financial model. If we leave that box, we lose money. And so we're very careful with who our rehab teams are. You know, then you've got to have the ability to have a property manager manage it for you. And all those things are critically important. So what do you think happens to a hedge fund, an institutional buyer that goes into a market and says, we need to buy 20 houses a week? The answer is they have to lean on the people that already are on the street, the people that have that infrastructure already. So what we learned was in engaging with these people, I don't mind mentioning the groups we've talked to. We're talking to Invitation Homes, which is an offshoot of Blackstone. It is Blackstone essentially that buys real estate. Colony Homes, GTSI, Landsmith. These are all hedge funds. And all these hedge funds have a very specific buying criteria. And we obviously know what that buying criteria is. And so what we've been able to do is be able to see other people around the country do similar models to this in that, you know, let's take advantage of the fact that the buyers are in this market and they don't hesitate to buy. And so what Greg was alluding to was that $35,000 has a home has a model. Greg's right. You can put that at $50,000 all day long. I mean, heck, you can put up a sale sign in front of the house and sell it for $50,000 after it's rehab. So there's a market for that. But there's also a market on the other side, which is the more expensive homes, homes that you probably need to invest $50,000 to $70,000 in. Those homes can be purchased by a hedge fund because we know what their criteria is. And so in some cases, in those homes, you could actually have those homes sold before you even finish the rehab. And that's not an exaggeration. I consult with another group that does exactly that right now. Before they even before they even have rehabbed the home, they already have an institutional buyer under contract to buy it. So the buyers are in the market. They are there, and what Greg's trying to do here, REO Reseller is very smart with this. This is a way to be able to catch into those institutional buyers and be able to essentially build a farm system, if you're familiar with that term. That's how baseball teams create their major league team. They have a farm system that creates talented baseball players, and they move them up to the big league. This is the same concept. This is a real estate farm system. It's the ability to buy these homes at wholesale prices where REO Reseller has access to, rent them out, and then flip them to an institutional buyer. So as an investor, now how do we do that? We can't do that under our current structure. We need to have people who come in and say, okay, we're going to partner up 50-50, identify the property. You have free and clear title to it, so it's in your name. The idea is then is to fix it up and then flip it. And so there's all kinds of opportunity here. There's absolutely an opportunity at the low end of the market, that $35,000 model Greg described, but there's also an opportunity in the higher market for homes that we would buy for maybe $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 if they may be sold at $80,000 or $90,000, because those homes, which are typically a larger home, that's typically a hedge fund's criteria, it's usually a little bit bigger home, a 3.2 or a 4.2. Those types of homes, there is a built-in market that you don't have to go shopping. The markets already exist. And so there's, as Greg described, there's an opportunity in the low end, there's an opportunity in the high end. The paperwork is very friendly. If you're interested, give us a call. We can talk about some of the opportunities that exist. We'll go ahead and put our numbers up here on the screen now. We'll take questions now as well. If you've got questions, you can type them into the chat box. We're happy to take those questions now. If you just prefer to talk to us one-on-one, we're going to leave our numbers up here for a little bit. You can give us a call or drop us an email. So with that, Greg, anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. I wanted to make it as simple as possible. The paperwork is as simple as possible. It's just it's a win-win-win. I know that there are, for example, I know that there's at least 4 or 5 people on this call that want to get involved in real estate, but they don't want to become a landlord, and this is a perfect opportunity. This is just in and out, and we're not trying to make a killing on each house. You can see what the profit range is, but you do it enough times, it just works out. And like I said, it's a win-win. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in your little box there. Be happy to answer those. And like Charlie said, if you want to call either one of us, we'll be happy to answer any of your questions and get you some marketing pieces in Birmingham and the paperwork so you can see just how easy it is.
Okay, first question, Greg. What happens if the house does not sell in 3 months?
Well, it's a great question. It can happen, but we know based upon 5 years of information that isn't going to be the case. So I guess the easiest way to answer is it hasn't happened. There's a demand out there. People want these homes.
Let me take that a step further, Greg, if I may. The real reason for that is, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but here's, first of all, in the worst case scenario, obviously you'd be getting rental income. So if we know we buy right, you're looking still at 12 to 14% cash and cash rate of return in a market that's appreciating. So if it didn't sell in 3 months, it'll sell in month 4 or 5 or 6. But that's not the reason. The reason is simply this. The reason it won't be difficult to sell is because we're not going to buy something that we know there isn't already an existing market for. That's the whole key. We know what these buyers' existing market is. They have given us what their criteria is. So we know going in what the buying criteria is. As long as you meet that buying criteria, you know there's already a market for it. So it's like you're buying something that you know you can sell almost immediately. That's a great question, Alan. How long do you expect this institutional demand will exist? That's a great question. I'll tell you what I think. Greg, you want to answer that first, or you want me to take that one?
Well, I think that at some point, they're going to have to look at other things to invest in. You got to understand a hedge fund, these are real estate hedge funds, but hedge funds have existed for years, but they may invest in gold. They may invest in commercial real estate. They might invest in a lot of different things, but the problem is there's nothing to invest in right now. They don't want to put people in the stock market. You can't do bonds because interest rates would only go up. It's going to happen for at least 2 more years, 3 maybe. It could possibly go as long as 5 until it gets to the point where there's other things for these hedge funds to buy. But right now, and definitely for at least 2 years, they're going to be buying like crazy.
Let me tag on to that too. The institutional investor, the answer to that question is it's actually a simple answer. The simple answer is they're going to do this as long as they can find inventory. So let's just look at what they've done up to this point. When these institutional folks originally entered this market, which is really essentially about 16, 17 months ago, somewhere in that ballpark, when they really became very aggressive. And I know there's a lot of questions up now. We'll get to each one of them. But what happened was they would go into a market and they would buy in that market until there was nothing left to buy in that market that made sense. So let me just give you some examples. Vegas and Phoenix were two of the markets that went down the most when the housing bubble burst, and they were two of the markets that the institutional investor attacked initially, Vegas and Phoenix, Arizona. Those two markets, as well as some markets in Northern California, and San Bernardino probably. So those markets they went after. Once they couldn't buy what they wanted to buy in those markets, as soon as the numbers no longer penciled out, they left and went someplace else. The next big market that they went to is Atlanta. Now, Greg can tell you that we've done a ton of research in Atlanta. We interface with people in Atlanta. We know this the market there extremely well. A year ago in Atlanta, you were buying some homes there for $20,000, $30,000 that were once worth $125,000. That's a true story. Now that's almost double. There's some pockets in Atlanta that have gone up almost 40%. There's 40-some hedge funds, and I have the list sitting right here on my desk, that buy real estate in Atlanta. They are in Atlanta. Interestingly, where they're moving to now is Birmingham. Only in the last 3 months. When you call it an institutional investor, and it's not easy to deal with these folks, I will tell you, I've done it, it's not simple. But when you contact them and ask them for their buying criteria, they'll give it to you. If you can get through all the maze of talking to the right person, they will give you their buying. Only in the last 3 months has Birmingham showed up on their list of cities. They always had typically the same, cities in Florida, North Carolina, Texas. Birmingham is now on the map. So here's the answer. In Birmingham, we've probably got a solid 18 to 24 months at least of buying the type of inventory that fit for their financial model. A hedge fund only buys because they can buy something at a good value that they can make money on. As long as they can do that, they're going to keep buying. There is no end to that. They'll just keep doing it until they can't find it anymore. What we have seen in Birmingham is we still have access to inventory, but we can't buy it fast enough and sell it fast enough without coming up with a program similar to this. So what's the next question? Can you invest less than $35,000? Greg, that's for you.
No, $35,000 is the lowest point. If we were to go any less than that, we would be looking at non-desirable neighborhoods, non-desirable homes. 35 is the minimum.
The only way we would consider something different than that, I'm speaking for Greg now, is if you work out your own sort of joint venture. We have one person that we're talking to now that we disclosed this to before today's webinar that's looking at doing something with family, where the family puts in a certain amount, they form an LLC, and they buy it through that manner. And the next question, Greg, I think you can answer that. Is Aria Reseller putting up, no, I'm sorry, does the $35,000 include rehab, or does Aria Reseller putting up the money for the rehab? Greg, you can answer that one.
No, $35,000 covers all our costs. In other words, it covers the rehab, everything. And we could go back a couple of slides and go through the details. But basically what it is we're looking for someone who wants to put up money, own a house, and do a fast flip. In other words, you're being the bank and you're piggybacking on our expertise to get the job done, right.
There's another question here.
I don't think I finished them, but okay.
Next question is security. Is the title, is it in your name? The title is, well, Greg, you described that. The title is in your name, the buyer's name. You own title.
Correct.
Okay, next one. Do you work with FDI custodians?
FDI?
FDI, Sam David Incorporated.
Oh, hey, Sam.
FDI.
I think that the question is, do we work with IRA custodians? And the answer is yes. In fact, I would say a large portion, if not the majority of all the business that we do is with people who have IRA monies. So yes, absolutely.
We got a whole bunch of stuff here, Greg, so I'm just going to do my best to read this stuff. The questions about custodians, we do a lot of work with custodians. Matter of fact, probably, I don't know what the number is now, Greg, but more than 50% of our sales are some sort of an IRA transfer or a 401k or a self-directed IRA or whatever. We do a lot of work with different custodians, and we have a couple we prefer, by the way, if you want references. Equity trust companies, yes, the answer is yes. Okay, Greg, question for you. If the expected return is 13% on a $35,000 investment, what would an expected return on a $50,000 investment be?
Okay, that's an awesome question. I was waiting for somebody to ask me that. Okay, you might make just a little bit more, but I don't even say that. But the big advantage in going into the 57, this 50 to 70, there's a sweet spot there. You wouldn't earn that much more money, percentage-wise. But the difference is, like Charlie went over in detail, we know that in those cases, see, the ones at $50,000, you have to wait until it's rehabbed and rented. And it is priced according to exactly what it is rented for. In the higher dollar amount ones, a lot of these times, we will at the moment we close and we're moving forward with the rehab, we will be shopping it to the hedge funds. And in a lot of cases, it will be sold very, very quickly before the rehab or the renter is even in place. So the opportunity there, I would encourage people to look more towards the larger dollar amounts. Not that there's anything wrong with the small one, but it's realistic that we could be doing it a lot faster. In other words, you might, instead of maybe being able to do it 3 to 4 times a year, we might be able to do it 5, 6, 7 times.
Yeah, the one thing I just want to add to that too, Greg's absolutely right. The one thing about the higher investment is that you are going to sell faster. You're going to find a buyer, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. If someone wants to talk to me offline about this, I'm glad to talk to you directly about this. But I have seen it. There's groups out there in other markets that will acquire something, and before they've even closed escrow on their own transaction, they've already got a contract in place to flip it to a institutional buyer. Just for everyone's identification, I will send out the recording of this webinar to everyone on the list, both of you registered and or if you attended or both. Thank you, Michael, for clarification. SDI, self-directed IRAs, is self-directed IRAs, Greg. We should have known that. Just for everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for everyone's own information too. We do most of these webinars with third-party administrators, Active Plan, Entrust, New Direct IRA, Blue Diamond Documents. We work with those groups on a fairly consistent basis. We at least have one webinar a month with a custodian that works with people with self-directed IRAs, that sort of thing. We're going to be doing one with Brian Davis with Active Plan in about 2 weeks, I believe it is. But thank you for clarification on that. Greg, to you, of the commission and fees of $4,000, do you participate with those in addition to the 50/50?
That's a great question. In the ones that are in the the lower dollar amount ones, the 50,000, we do have sales reps that are independent contractors that would be compensated for that. For the larger ones, typically the institutional or the institutional hedge fund, what it may be, they'll actually tell us exactly what the fee will be.
Yeah, and actually on that subject too, and that's a good point. It's really important that everybody understands this. When you deal with an institutional investor, and there's always a gatekeeper, which means there's always someone that has to be compensated in that chain. So if you're going to sell to an institutional investor, and believe me, you want to, because it's the quickest, easiest, most painless way to flip a property right at this moment, but there are fees there. You will absolutely pay fees to somebody. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay, I got them all. We will send out a tape of this to everyone. I'm just looking down these questions to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think that's it. There's no more questions. I want to thank everyone for being here. And again, we'll send everyone out a recording of the call. And if you've got questions, our number's been up there for quite a while, so just feel free to give myself or Greg a call. We're glad to talk to you. And the paperwork is available on this if you just want to review the contracts and see what the paperwork looks like. Contact us and we can forward that to you. So I want to thank everyone for being here. We have another question. Hang on. Do you buy the houses after you get the investment money and then do the rehab?
Wait, I'm sorry. Ask that again.
I can answer if you want me to, Grace. Do you buy the houses after you get the investment money and then do the rehab?
Oh, no, I'd like to answer that. No, we already lined them up so that they're ready to go. And on the larger transactions, you need to be close to being able to escrow. We can't get you a property and then, take 2-3 weeks, to go ahead and escrow. So if you're dealing with an IRA, we have to make sure that you're ready to go. But in all cases, we'll work with you on exactly what house. You'll know what house. Did I answer that?
Yeah, let me just look at it again. Do you know anything about it? Yeah, absolutely. The idea here is to have additional capital and additional what Greg currently works with to buy more inventory and to take advantage of a market that's churning down the tracks. So the idea here is just to have the ability to grow exponentially faster than what we currently can. That's what the whole idea here is. And for you, the investor, you own the home. We do the rehab work. Our incentive comes in selling it. That's where the incentive lies. And so the idea is to take advantage of a market. I mean, imagine being in a market, any market, and you're seeing buyers coming in faster than you can buy the inventory that you see is available on the ground. What you try to do as any smart business person is you try to look at that and say, we need to capture a part of that market while it's available. And so that's what the goal here is. Did I get that last question? Okay, next question. So you already have the homes ready for the investor to buy.
Yeah. Well, no. Let me make this clear. On the $50,000 ones, yes. I mean, we have a constant rotation of inventory. On the more expensive ones, we're going to actually go out and identify a specific house for you. See, so if you say, oh, I've got $57,000 to work with, I will find the home for you for $57,000. You'll know what you're buying up front. But once we establish the exact house, you've got to be able to escrow quickly, close on that home, and we start from there. So I guess the best way to answer that is again, the 50 to 70 to 80, that's going to be a one-on-one, very specialized. It's going to be tailored to exactly what your needs are and what we know that we can flip for fast.
I want to tag on to that too. That's not necessarily to mean that we don't know what the inventory availability is. We certainly do. We have a wholesaler on the ground there in Birmingham that's been in that market for quite some time. The reality of it is, though, is that we cannot buy. You can't buy fast enough what's available that's out there. There is a beginning and an end to this. And we're not near the end. We believe we're closer to the beginning because we're only now seeing the larger buyers enter this particular market. But you've got to work this from a perspective of, controlling your inventory so that you don't go buy everything in town without the ability to immediately sell it. So you have to be careful how you approach that. I think that's the end of our questions. Is that it? I'm going to leave our phone numbers up here for a few more minutes. If you got questions, again, we're here. There's a number of requests for paperwork. We'll get that to you, as well as the copy of the video. We will get that out as well. We'll be doing another one of these, I believe, Greg, Thursday at 12 noon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be doing another one Thursday at 12 noon. So if you'd like to join that as well, we'll be back here again Thursday. I want to thank everyone for being here, and we hope to talk to you.
All right, Charlie, I'm going to go ahead and sign off.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for everybody for being here. I really appreciate it.